Hi everybody. So we're going to go through Pahang first paper, okay, in its Pahang trial examination paper for the year 2022. All right. Okay, for this lesson, we're going to go through 40 objective questions, which I will go through with you slowly, and we will see how to go about answering this type of questions. All right. So let us, without further ado, begin this lesson. Now, let's look at the first question. Okay, which of the following pairs is matched? Actually, here is supposed to be correctly. Okay, if you notice in the BM version, it's actually betul, but so this is correctly. So if you were to observe here, okay, if stabilizers are normally what we call things like in chemicals which we use for consumers, okay, whereby we add these stabilizers into products in order to make sure that it's usable. Okay, so basically for agriculture, if it does not include chemicals such as pesticides or herbicides, then this is a wrong one. Okay, pesticides. Okay, now let's look at this question. So basically, if we really observe here, right, the real answer and the correct answer is C, whereby its medicine includes analgesics. All right. Now, this is quite a simple and very straightforward question. Okay, let's look at question 2 now. Which substance is a compound? So which one is a compound? Now, in this question, if firstly you need to know what does it mean by a compound. A compound is basically the mixture of two or more elements. So it's very obvious that water has a formula of H2O. Okay, gold is aurum actually, right? In air, we have basically so many composition of types of particles around us. So this is a mixture. It's not a compound. So don't get confused between a mixture and a compound. All right. And carbon is an element because it's single on its own. Okay. So that is why this answer is A. Okay. Now let's look at question 3. This is from the topic periodic table of elements in Form 4. Okay, what are the other names for the elements in group 1? So you see again, it's very, very straightforward, this question. And noble gases is usually group 18. Halogens will be group 17. Okay, and alkali metal, that would be group 1. Okay, so this is answered C. The answer will be C. And D is actually group 2. Okay, group 2 we seldom emphasize on, but we just need to know the method of writing a proper chemical equation. Okay, now next let's look at question 4. Hydrogen bond. Okay, what's a hydrogen bond? Hydrogen bond can be formed between hydrogen atom and atom of. Okay, so normally I will ask student to memorize hydrogen, fluorine, oxygen, and nitrogen. Okay, so the answer is B, fluorine. Okay, now let's look at question 5. It's quite straightforward. The questions is not like beating around the bush so far. Okay, when we go up to question 4. Now let's look at question 5. Okay, table 1 shows the pH values of P, Q, R, and S solutions. Okay, what are these solutions actually? Okay, now which solution is alkaline? So we do know that in order for it to be an alkaline solution, it has to be above 7, pH 7. So here is quite obvious. The answer is solution S, D. Okay, now let's look at question 6. Which of the following is an insoluble salt? So this one you definitely should be able to memorize by now, whereby insoluble salts of sulfate ions include lead, okay, barium, and calcium. Okay, and then we have carbonates. Carbonate salt basically are salts which are insoluble in water except the triple NK. Okay, what is triple NK? Triple NK will be sodium, ammonium, potassium, and also nitrate. Okay, now we also have chloride ion salts, and the two insoluble salts which are chloride salts is the silver and the lead too. Okay, so let us check which is an insoluble salt here. In this case, the answer is A. All right, now let's look at the next question, which is question 7. Okay, all right, now okay, now let's look at question 7. Okay, let's look at question 7 now. Which process has the highest rate of reaction? So basically here, the answer is C, which is combustion, because combustion normally, when you start to burn something, right, it burns immediately. So that is why it's the fastest. Okay, respiration is in a case whereby when you breathe in oxygen, oxygen still need to burn the food, okay, in our body. It still takes time. Okay, rusting, it takes a few days for it to occur despite the condition that is given. And photosynthesis as well, it does take time. Okay, so the fastest here is actually combustion. All right, now let's look at question 8. Which of the following shows the arrangement of the atoms in an alloy? Okay, alloy meaning, okay, when this is an alloy, it has more than one type of atom. Okay, so in this case, normally if you have foreign atom like that, this is what you call an alloy. That is why your answer for question 8 is B. Okay, B for boy. Now, let's look at question 9. Which of the following occurs in reduction reaction? Okay, in reduction reaction. So in reduction, if we use Leo the German, okay, loses electron, oxidation, whereas when you gains electron, reduction. So in this case, occurs in reduction reaction, that will be gaining of electrons. So the answer is B. Okay, now let us go to question 10. Which of the following is a saturated hydrocarbon? Okay, saturated meaning is full. Okay, it can no longer accept, all right, it can no longer accept other elements in. So in this case, normally it's the answer will be alkane, because why? It is single chain carbon, single bond carbon, whereby as such that its double bond, it does not have any double bond to be broken down, okay, to accept any other more types of elements. Okay, now let's look at question 11 now. Which statement is correct about endothermic? If this is endothermic, imagine ice melting in water. Okay, ice melting in water resulting in the temperature drop. So you're expecting a temperature reading which drops. Okay, so if the container becomes hotter, definitely the temperature increases. So this is exothermic. The temperature of the mixture decreases. So this one is endothermic. Heat energy is released to the surrounding. Result from heat energy being released to the surrounding, that's when your temperature start to increase. So this is an exothermic reaction. Okay, and lastly, the heat energy is converted to kinetic energy. This is usually exothermic. Okay, which is why it's heated up. Okay, so the answer is B. Okay, the temperature of the mixture decreases. Okay, question 12. Glucose is the basic unit of polymer X. What is polymer X? Firstly, what is a glucose? Okay, glucose is sugar. Okay, and if you look here, observe this one. Okay, protein is usually amino acids. Anything to do with amino acids are all protein. Okay, for natural rubber, it would be isoprene, and polyvinyl chloride would be chloroethene. So comes down to starch, because we know that starch is a very refined carbohydrates, whereby once it's digested, okay, it turns into glucose, the simplest unit of a carbohydrate. Okay, now let's look at question 13 now. Which additive in detergent is used to remove protein stains from clothes? So protein, if it's mentioned protein, it has something to do with biological. So that would be a biological enzyme. Okay, now let's look at question 14. In order to produce a glass that is more resistant to heat and chemicals, substance Y is added to soda lime glass in the manufacturing process. What is X? So this one is boron oxide. Okay, when they have words like more resistant to heat and chemicals, normally this is what we call boron oxide, the function. All right, so this one is actually okay, this is X, that would be the substance that turns into okay, so this one you have to do a little bit of correction. This one has to be Y actually. What is Y? Okay, because they are actually referring to substance Y. Okay, now let's look at the next question, which is question 15. What is the correct functional group for the following homologous series? Okay, if you have hydroxyl here, this will be alcohol. Okay, double bond carbon is not alkyne, but it is alkene. COO, carboxyl. Okay, carboxylate. Okay, sorry, carboxylate. So this one will be ester. So you are only left with COOH, which is carboxyl. Okay, so this is carboxylic acid. So the answer will be D. Okay, now let's look at question 16. Table 2 shows the number of proton, neutron, and electron for particles F and G. Okay, we've got two particles. Normally, when you have this type of question, you should first, what do? You should attack the number of proton first. That means by writing down its electron arrangement. So like for this example, for particle F, it's 2.8.2, and particle G is 2.8.8.1. Okay, now let's look at what the question wants us to do. What is the requirement? Which of the following statement is true about particles F and G? Okay, particles F and G, let's see. Now, A, particles F and G are atoms. If you notice here, the number of electrons for G has decreased, meaning it has been it is in a stable octet electron arrangement. And by now you should know that if it is in a stable octet electron arrangement form of a duplet or a duplet even, this is normally an ion, so they are not atoms, so which is why A is not the answer. Okay, now let's look at B. The mass of 1 mole of atom F is 24 grams. Okay, for F. So normally 12 plus 12, you will get 24. So this one is correct lah, is the answer. But let's look at C first. The nucleon number of atom G is 38. Wrong. It has to be 19 plus 20. You will get 39. Okay. And finally D, the number of valence electron for atom G. Be careful. If it is atom G, the valence electron is 1. So that is why the answer for this question is B. Okay. Now, let's look at question 17 now. Diagram 1 shows the setup of apparatus used to determine the empirical formula of a metal oxide. Alright. Now, which of the following metal oxides is suitable to be used in the experiment? So MgO is a reactive metal. We don't use this technique, okay, whereby to react with hydrogen gas, okay, to form the metal itself. Okay, this is not a correct method. All right. Now, as for B, Ag2O, most probably let's put this into consideration. Now, what about aluminium oxide? Aluminium is as such that it is a very reactive metal. So normally, if it is reactive metal, we always use direct heating. Okay, we always use direct heating to determine the empirical formula of all these metal oxides, which is why A and C cannot be accepted as the answer. But silver can, because silver is a less reactive metal, so it needs to use the method of displacement with hydrogen gas, okay, in order for us to find out its empirical formula. All right, now let's look at question 18 now. All right, question 18. Which substance, let me move this down. Okay, which substance contains 6.02 times 10 to the power of 23 atoms? If you got 1 mole of chlorine gas, if in atom form, okay, you have to multiply by 2 because this is Cl2. So in other words, this one is 6.02 times 10 to the power of 23 times 2. Okay, now let's look at B, oxygen gas. Also same thing, it's O2. So the method of calculation is exactly the same as A. All right. But for helium gas, because helium gas is an inert gas, so you are not required to multiply by anything because helium is in the form of atoms itself already. Okay, it's so stable. Okay, it's a very stable gas. So that is why the answer is C. Okay. Now, let us look at question 19. Diagram 2 shows a part of the periodic table of elements, okay, which has the highest tendency to accept electrons. Meaning, okay, if it has the highest tendency to accept electron, it has the highest electronegativity. Okay, accept electron meaning electronegativity. So, which is why the answer here is D, S. Q is a stable element. All right, if it is a stable element, it does not accept, it does not share it does not even donate any electrons. Okay, now as for P and R, R is a transition element which is right in the middle of the entire periodic table. So normally transition elements, what will be asked is the 4 special characteristics. They won't ask more than that. Okay, and then for P, because P is from group 1, meaning it has a higher electropositivity, not electronegativity, because P has an ability to lose electron, not to gain electrons. Okay, that's why question 19, the answer is D. Now, let's look at question 20. Okay, now diagram 3 shows the apparatus set up to prepare a salt. So we've got this type of salt. So this one is what we call the double decomposition method. Okay, or precipitation reaction, because can't you see you have precipitate here? So this is what we call the precipitation reaction. All right, let's look at what the question is about. What is solution M, solution N, and salt L? Okay, solution M, it has to be soluble with soluble to form insoluble. So in this case, firstly, you need to detect, okay, salt L, which one is the one that is insoluble salt here. Okay, if insoluble, all right, if it is insoluble salts, that would be if you got insoluble salts, in this case, it can be lead 2 chloride is insoluble. Okay, barium chloride is soluble, but barium sulfate is the one that is insoluble. So don't get confused, okay? So this one is also, so the answer is either B or D. Okay, let us look at the type of solution. So B and D has the same type of solution for solution M, but solution N, let's look. Silver chloride. This is sodium chloride. Silver chloride is one of those insoluble salts. So when an insoluble salt is mixed with a soluble salt, there is no possibility, okay, there is still possibility to form an insoluble salt, but we cannot confirm that that is actually the salt itself. Okay, which is why the answer is D. Okay, now let's look at question 21. Which of the following substance will produce highest rate of reaction? That means the highest. So in this case, firstly, you have to detect which is a strong acid, which is a weak acid. Okay, so in this case, we've got A, C, and D, a strong acid. Okay, phosphoric acid is a weak acid actually. All right, now next, let's look at the volume. It's all the same. The concentration is also the same. But what makes the difference is the number of moles of hydrogen ion. In sulfuric acid, you have 2 moles of hydrogen ions. So that is why this one will have the highest rate of reaction. So your answer is D. Okay. Now, let's look at question 22 next. Which of the following metal can be extracted from its ores through the reduction process by carbon? So basically for reactivity series, okay, you still have to remember lah. Okay, you cannot forego without it. You need your reactivity series. Okay, you need your reactivity series, and the one that actually, okay, let me list this down first. calcium, magnesium, aluminium, zinc, iron, stannum, plumbum, hydrogen, copper, argentum, aurum, platinum. Okay, so if you observe here, lead is can consider quite low in the series. Okay, that is why normally lead in this case, if you look at the answer between A, B, C and D, B, C and D, they are what we say ranking lah, is quite high. These are all reactive metals, so we don't the ores we don't actually reduce using carbon. So that is why the answer is A. Okay, lead is the one that normally, in order to extract it out from its ores, okay, we use carbon. Okay, now next let's look at question 23. Diagram 4 shows the electron arrangement of a compound. Okay, which of the following is a property of the compound shown in diagram 4? Okay, which one? So if these two, one is an ion, one more is a cation, meaning it is an ionic compound. Okay, so let us see which answer describes an ionic compound. Okay, A, consists of molecule, which is not lah. This one is normally covalent compound. Okay, soluble in organic solvent, also no, because the character of covalent compound only will be soluble in organic solvent. Has a low melting point, also no, because why? In ionic compound you have a metal element there, so that makes it actually increases its melting and boiling point. Okay, so conducts electricity in the molten state. This one is correct. Because why? An ionic compound contains or has free moving ions, okay, in the molten state, but it does not conduct electricity in solid state. Okay, because in solid state, all of its particles are vibrating at the fixed position, so it can't move. Okay, it can't conduct any electricity, so it has to be either molten state or aqueous solution. Okay, now let's look at question 24. Diagram 5 shows dry ammonia gas being flowed into propanol. No change was observed on red litmus paper. What should be done to change the color of the litmus paper? Okay, if it is propanol, propanol does not contain water. In order for red litmus paper to play its role, okay, it must be damp. That means you need to make sure that, okay, this red litmus paper it contains a little bit of water, because water does prove that its property, okay, in order for acid, okay, to show its acidic properties, water must be present. The presence of water is very important. Okay, so that is why the answer is C. You need to replace propanol with distilled water, because why? This ammonia, dry ammonia gas that flows in, it does not dissolve in propanol. Okay, now next let us look at question 25. Diagram 6 shows a graph of volume of gas against time for the reaction between nitric acid and calcium carbonate. Okay, at what time does the reaction occurs? At the lowest rate. Okay, at the lowest rate. So it's at T4, because obviously from here, at T4, the thing has already zero rate. Okay, the rate of reaction is 0 at T4. So that is the lowest rate of reaction. Okay, now question 26. The following are the characteristics of a new product in industry. It has a high stretching strength, tough and durable, heat and electrical durable. What substance can be used to produce the new product? So this one will be fiberglass, okay, because fiberglass has this special characteristics whereby it is an electrical insulator. Sorry, you need to correct this, not durable, but it's insulator. Another correction here. Oops, sorry. Okay, insulator. So that is why the answer is fiberglass, B. Okay, let's look at question 27. Table 3 shows the relative atomic mass for element X and element Y. X has a relative atomic mass of 45 and Y of 9. Which of the following is true about elements X and Y? Okay, A, mass of atom Y is 9 grams. No, okay, it's not. The mass of atom Y is not 9 grams. Okay. The number of protons in atom X is 45, which is even worse. This is not, relative atomic mass is not number of protons, neither it is the mass of that particular atom. All right, so see, 5 mole of Y has the same mass as 1 mole of X. So you've got 5 mole of this is equals to 1 mole of X, which is very obvious, it's correct. Okay, because why? The relative atomic mass is 5 times of Y. So the answer is C. Okay, now let us look at question 28 now. Okay, when you are given this type of question, my recommendation, okay, what I would advise you, the first thing you do is cut open. That means separate out all those monomers. Okay, so it's quite obvious here. This is a monomer. You see, these are all monomers. Okay, so diagram 7 shows the structural formula of compound Y, which is used to make cable tie. Which of the following is a structural formula of monomer for compound Y? So when you break it down like that, you just need the double bond there. So that is why the answer is B. This one is polymer, cannot. Polymer version, then you have N. Alright? This one is in the form of alkane, which is not possible for it to form what do you call? Polymer. Alright? Now, let's look at question 29. Diagram 8 shows the energy level diagram for the displacement reaction. Among A, B, and C, which represents the value of heat of displacement for this reaction? So in this case, the one that actually represents the value of heat displacement for the reaction, the answer is okay. The answer should be A. Alright, this portion is the one. Okay, because if you draw it, right, draw it back, this one is one arrow. So this portion is your delta H. That is why your answer is A. Okay, now question 30. Diagram 9 shows the electron arrangement of Y negative ion. Which of the following statement is true about Y negative ion? Alright, ion means it has stabilized. So if it is in the form of atom, it will be 2.7. Okay, now Y ion is cation. Wrong, this is an ion, negative. Okay, the electron arrangement of Y negative ion is 2.7. This is wrong. If it is in the form of ion, it's stable, so it's supposed to be 2.8. Okay, 3. Y atom receives 1 electron to form Y negative ion, which is correct. All right, this atom will gain electron, okay, to form an ion Y negative. Okay, now for Y negative ion can form an ionic compound with sodium ion, which is correct. So that is why the answer is 3 and 4, which is B. Okay, next question 31. Toothpaste can be applied to treat ant bite. What is the name of the chemical that may be found in the ant bite? So toothpaste is alkaline. So in order to treat ant bite, if it can treat ant bite, meaning ant bite is acidic. So what is that acid? Methanoic acid. Okay, you see, very easy. First thing you need to know that bite is acidic or alkaline. Then from there onwards, you can work out the answers. All right. Now, why I don't choose sulfuric acid? Sulfuric acid is a chemical acid. Okay, it's not organic acid. It's an inorganic acid. Organic acid are those acids that normally living beings can actually produce. All right. Now, let's look at question 32. What are the oxidation numbers of chromium in K2CrO4 and K2Cr2O7? So after you do calculation, okay, like for example this one, okay, we do for K2CrO4 first. X plus 2 minus plus negative 2 times 4 equals to 0. So x will be 2 minus 8 is equals to negative 6 plus 6. Okay, and then what about the other one? 2x plus 2 plus negative 2 times 7 equals to 0. So 2x, 2 minus 14 is negative 12 equals to 0. 2x is equals to plus 12, x is equals to plus 6. That is why your answer is C. Simple mathematical calculation only. Alright? Okay, let's look at question 33 now. Diagram 10 shows energy level diagram for the reaction between nitric acid and sodium hydroxide solution. Calculate the amount of heat released when 50 cubic centimeter of 2 mole over dm cube nitric acid reacts with 50 cm cube of 2 mole over dm cube, okay, sodium hydroxide solution. So first thing first, we know that 1 mole of hydrogen ion reacts with 1 mole of hydroxide ion to form 1 mole of water, okay, and this one, okay, for hydrogen ions, volume of 50 and molarity of 2. Same thing goes to the sodium hydroxide. It has the same, both same only. Alright, then let us calculate the number of moles involved first, which is 2 times 50 mv over 1000. Okay, you will get 0.1 mole. So 0.1 mole just now, you multiply by this one. You can convert it into joule per mole, meaning 57 times 1000, which is 57,000. But the answer is in the form of kilojoule, right? So you can use 5.57 enough. So you will get 5.7 kilojoule. That's your answer, A. Okay? Now, let's look at question 4 now. Now, this question is a very tricky question. You know why? Because they psycho you before you actually answer it. Let's look at this. Diagram 11 shows the structural formula of vitamin C. You see, it looks so complicated. Normally, if students see so complicated structure, right, they give up instantly, which is the wrong method lah. Okay, so what you should do actually is count the number of carbon, the number of hydrogen, and the number of oxygen. Then from there onwards, then only you work your way up. Okay, so in this example, we've got carbon, C6, we've got H8, and O6 here. Okay, if you calculate it nicely. So what is the question? The question is, what is the mass of 0.25 moles of vitamin C? So we know that the formula, number of mole is equals to mass in gram divided by RMM. So we already have found the structural formula of vitamin C. You just put in your value. So your mass is also equals to 0.25 mole multiplied by 176, which is the RMM, and you get an answer of 44 grams. Okay, which is why the answer is D, 44 grams. Okay, let's look at question 35. Okay, let's look at question 35. Okay, for question 35, you are asked to calculate the pH value of calcium hydroxide. Okay, so question 35, how do we do it? Let's see. Okay, let's find log first. All right, so we know that in order to calculate pH, in in this case you are given the concentration, negative log 0.02, which is negative log 0.02 log 0.02 log. Okay, so you will get 1.699. Okay, so in order for you to calculate back your pH, it has to be 14 minus 1.699, which is 12.3. So that is why the pH is 12.3. The answer is C. Okay, so you do your log first. Okay, you can put in, but because this is alkali, then you have to take 14 minus that particular log itself. If it is acidic, no problem, you get your answer straight away. Okay, now let's look at question 36. What is the number of moles for 200 cm cube of nitric acid with a concentration of 31.5 gram over dm cube? So first thing first, you need to know 31.5. You divide by 63. Okay, divide by 63, meaning you have to count the RMM of HNO3 first. Okay, which is 1 plus 14 plus 3 times 16. This is 63. Then you will get 0.5 mole over the m cube. All right, and then from here, okay, we want to calculate number of mole. So 0.5 times this one, 200 cm cube, you convert to dm cube, which is 0.2 dm cube. So you will get 0.1 mole. Actually, I'm playing along with the units here. Okay, meaning in order to get mole, I take mole over dm cube times dm cube. That is what I calculate. I convert this into mole over dm cube first. Then I multiply by the volume, which is converted to dm cube. Then only I get number of mole. So sometimes you don't have to memorize your formula. You play along with the units. If you can play with the units, You don't have to memorize your formula one. Okay, now next let's look at question 37. Which of the following half equation occur when zinc is in contact with copper metal? So if it is coming in contact with copper metal, or this one, you have to draw the arrow, huh? Okay, zinc ion will form zinc. Okay, zinc ion will form zinc. Now, next, let's look at question 38. Table 4 shows the volume of hydrogen gas collected at a time interval of 30 seconds for the reaction between zinc granules and nitric acid. What is the average response rate in the second minute? If it is in the second minute, meaning you have to take second and first reading. So 25 minus 14.80 divided by 60 seconds, which is, the answer is 0.17 cm cube per second. All right. If you press your calculator, this is your answer. Okay, let's look at question 39. Diagram 12 shows the conversion of compound X to two organic compounds through oxidation process and dehydration process. What is general formula of compound X? So compound X basically can go through dehydration. The moment you see dehydration, normally it's alcohol. And alcohol contains hydroxyl, which is OH. That is why your answer is C. Okay, so you don't have to read every single thing just to get the answer. Okay, the answer is right in front of the eye. Okay, now let's look at the last question, question 40. Table 5 shows the heat of combustion for 4 types of alcohol. Okay, which of the following statements explains the difference in heat of combustion from alcohol W to alcohol Z? So in this case, basically we can observe that the number of carbon dioxide and water molecules produced increases. Okay, because why? As your heat of combustion increases, that is when all these numbers will also increase at the same time. Okay, so actually if we observe this entire paper, it's considerably not too hard and neither it is too easy. Okay, it just takes up some time for us to think on how do we go along with answering the questions. That's all. Okay, so as long as you are very extra careful when it comes to answering questions, there shouldn't be a problem for you to actually score paper 1. Okay, so I think that's it for this paper. I will see you again in paper 2. All right, okay, bye.